Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. The universe is full of terrifying things, but usually, those things are made of metal, circuits, and logic. You can hack a computer. You can melt a hull. You can EMP a drone. But the Vyr-Tek Hegemony didn't believe in machines. They believed in the perfection of the flesh. On their homeworld of Groval, they didn't have factories, they had birthing pits. They didn't build tanks, they grew them. The Vyr-Tek's ultimate weapon was the Bio-Titan. These were skyscraper-sized monstrosities, mountain-sized heaps of hyperdense muscle, chitinous armor plates, and acidic blood. They were equipped with biological railguns that fired bone shards at supersonic speeds and lungs that could exhale clouds of flesh-eating bacteria. For 1,000 years, the hegemony had used these living gods to stomp out any resistance. No army could stand against them. Lasers just cauterized their wounds. Missiles were absorbed into their blubber. To the rest of the galaxy, the Bio-Titans were a force of nature, something you fled from like a hurricane or an earthquake. But to the United Terran Iron Vanguard, a Bio-Titan wasn't a god. It was just a target with a very large heart. The invasion of Groval began not with a bombardment, but with a Slayer drop. Master Sergeant Jax Breaker Miller stood in the bay of the USS Butcher's Hook. He wasn't wearing standard infantry gear. He was locked into a Juggernaut-class Titan killer frame. It was a massive, 3-meter-tall exosuit of reinforced ceramic and cold iron, powered by a dual-core fusion reactor. In his right hand he gripped the God Claw, a hydraulic pincer that could crush a tank. In his left, he held the Mk4 Ripper, an industrial-grade, diamond-toothed chainsaw designed for cutting through asteroid-dense minerals. "Listen up, Slayers." Jax's voice boomed through the neural links of his squad. The Vyr-Tek think they've won because they have the biggest teeth in the quadrant. They think we're going to run because our skin is soft. They forgot one thing. A monster is only scary until you realize it's made of meat. And meat can be cut. "Aura," the squad responded, the roar of 30 fusion reactors humming in unison. "Drop in 10. Target is the Alpha Nest in the southern spire. We land on the beast's back. Do not, I repeat, do not fall off. Gravity is your enemy, the monster is just a playground. Drop." The bay doors opened and the Slayer squad plummeted toward the surface of Groval. Below them, the planet looked like a pulsating, veined eyeball. The forests were made of hair-like filaments, and the mountains were the resting bodies of hibernating Bio-Titans. Jax targeted the largest heat signature on his HUD. It was an Alpha-class Titan, a creature 5 kilometers long, shaped like a terrifying cross between a centipede and a dragon. It was currently waking up, its massive wings of leathery skin unfurling, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. "Brace for impact." Jax's retro thrusters fired at the last second, slamming him onto the jagged chitinous plates of the Titan's upper spine. The impact felt like hitting a mountain. The Titan roared, a sound that registered on the Richter scale, and began to thrash violently. "Maglocks active," Jax yelled. His boots clamped onto the alien scales with 10 tons of magnetic and hydraulic pressure. Around him, his squad was landing, a swarm of tiny metal gnats on the back of a Titan. "All right, Slayers. Find the nerve cluster at the base of the neck. Let's give this thing a migraine." The fight was unlike any other in human history. It wasn't about range or cover. It was about leverage and mechanical violence. A swarm of parasite drones, dog-sized, multi-legged creatures that lived on the Titan's skin like fleas, scuttled toward the humans. They had serrated mandibles and acid-spitting glands. "Get him off me." Private Vance screamed as 3 parasites latched onto his arm. Jax didn't fire a gun. He revved the Ripper. The chainsword screamed into life, a high-pitched whine that cut through the Titan's own roars. Jax swung the blade in a wide arc. The diamond teeth tore through the parasite's chitin like paper, spraying thick, fluorescent green ichor across his visor. "Don't waste ammo on the small stuff," Jax commanded. "Save the thermal charges for the main event." The Alpha Titan, sensing the parasites were failing, tilted its body 90 degrees, attempting to shake the humans into the 1,000-foot abyss below. Jax's maglocks groaned under the strain, the metal sparking against the alien's scales. "He's trying to throw us." "Anchor down." Jax jammed his God Claw deep into a fleshy gap between the Titan's armor plates. The beast shrieked and a geyser of hot, acidic steam erupted from the wound. Jax's suit alarms wailed as the external temperature spiked to 400 degrees. "He's venting. Keep moving." They reached the first primary node, a pulsating, translucent sac of nerves the size of a transit van, buried under a layer of semi-transparent bone. This was the Titan's secondary brain, responsible for its motor functions. Lou, plant the drill. Private Lou stepped forward, his suit's heavy-duty industrial drill spinning up. He jammed it into the bone sack. The sound was agonizing, the screech of metal on bone mixed with the psychic scream of the Titan that vibrated in the human skulls. Drills through. Planting the pulse charge. Get back, Jax ordered. The charge detonated with a muffled thud. The Titan's entire left side suddenly went limp. One of its massive wings folded awkwardly, and the beast began to spiral toward the ground, unable to maintain flight. He's going down. Hang on. The Titan slammed into the Groval jungle with the force of a tectonic shift. Millions of trees were pulverized. Jax and his squad were tossed around inside their suits like dice in a box. When the dust settled, the Titan was alive but grounded. And it was angry. From the jungle, the Vyr-Tek biosoldiers, humanoids grafted into living armor, emerged to defend their god. They fired bone shards and organic sludge, but the Slayers were already in their element. Slayers form a perimeter around the head. Jax roared, his ripper still spinning, covered in gore. I'm going for the primary eye. Jax charged. He didn't move like a soldier, he moved like a wrecking ball. He ignored the bone shards bouncing off his ceramic plates. He reached the Titan's head, a nightmare of 20 different eyes and a mouth filled with rows of rotating teeth. The Titan opened its maw, preparing to exhale a cloud of flesh-eating bacteria. Not today, ugly. Jax jumped. His suit's thrusters gave him a 5-meter vertical leap. He landed right on the beast's lower lip. He jammed the ripper into the Titan's massive, pulsating tongue and held on. The chainsword bit deep. The Titan's internal pressure caused a massive spray of blood that drenched Jax's suit, turning the gray metal into a horrific, dripping green. Jax didn't let go. He pulled a thermal piercer from his back, a 2-meter-long spear of solid magnesium with a shape-charged tip. He drove the spear into the roof of the Titan's mouth, aiming straight for the primary brain. Clear out, Jax yelled. He triggered the charge. The explosion wasn't big, but it was directed. A jet of 5,000-degree plasma shot upward, incinerating the Titan's brain in a fraction of a second. The beast's 20 eyes rolled back. Its massive body shivered once, twice, and then went still. Silence fell over the clearing, broken only by the cooling of the Titan's massive body and the rhythmic work-click of Jax's suit. Jax climbed out of the Titan's mouth, his armor steaming. He looked at his squad. 10 men were down, their suits shredded by parasites or crushed by the Titan's thrashing. But the living god was dead. Target neutralized, Jax rasped into the comms. The Alpha is down. Send in the cleanup crews. The Vyr-Tek Hegemony surrendered Groval 3 days later. Their gods had been proven mortal. Their flesh had been proven weak against human steel and human grit. They couldn't understand how a species so small, so insignificant, could look at a 5-kilometer-long monster and think, I can kill that. The Galactic Council later debated the brutality of the Iron Vanguard. They were disturbed by the Slayer units, by the chainswords, and by the visceral, blood-soaked nature of human warfare. You fought like animals, a Vyr-Tek priest spat at Jax during the tribunal. You had no respect for the sacred biology of the Titans. Jax, sitting there in a clean uniform but with hands that still smelled of alien blood, just looked at the priest. We aren't animals, Jax said. But we come from a world where the monsters used to eat us. We spent a long time being the prey. We learned that a monster is just a challenge with a pulse. You built your empire on fear. We built ours on the fact that we don't care how big you are. If you bleed, we can kill you. Humanity had proven the ultimate bio-HFY truth. Size doesn't matter when you have the right tools. A god of flesh is still just meat, and in the hands of a human with a chainsaw, meat is just a project. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. The bigger they are, the more blood they have to lose. If you enjoyed this visceral takedown of a bio-titan, hit that like button. Comment below, what would you name your Titan Killer power armor? Subscribe for the next front of the Iron Vanguard, the Iron Tide. The chainsword is silent. The beast is butchered.